Wow. So this is really exciting because money is such an important subject. When you haven't got any, you certainly know what a subject it is of if you've ever had times of lack. And honestly, where before, even if our families weren't
Mm.
rich, they had quite a regular income and they don't anymore. Nobody's work is guaranteed. Even when you're self-employed like we are, what goes down one year is certainly not going down the next. And I've noticed that a lot in the last couple of years. So it's a precarious subject, but even beyond that you probably haven't got a job for life now or your income can keep changing, it's also very much what's happening with money. And in a short space of time, a lot of things have changed. So I just wanted to mention that when I first started working with future life progression, I take people to different time frames. And it was when I started to take people into a future lifetime, I found something very odd. So the first thing, and this was me being naive, everyone looked quite chilled. And I could see the world was clean. So I'm not actually worried about environment. The world seemed clean. So we obviously find some way of cleaning the world or clean energy, something. And everyone seemed quite chilled. And they all seemed to be in their own like little apartment, um, working on a computer and thought nobody seems to go to work anymore. And then I'd ask them questions that whoever I'm working with, they say in your next lifetime. And I'd ask them, and I started to ask this question about money. Um, how are you for money? Um, how are you off for money? And nobody ever answered. Nobody, no, not one person went, "Oh, I'm all right. I'm sure there's." No, nobody answered. They didn't even say there wasn't money. They just didn't answer. It's like they looked at me a bit oddly and just carried on or said nothing, which I found really weird. And this went on for quite, many sessions. So I met up with Judy Piatkas at the time was my publisher, lovely woman. And about once a year we meet up for lunch. So I met her for lunch and I told her, and she said, "Well, how can we live without money?" And I said, "I have no idea. I mean, we think differently now, but back then I couldn't make head or tail of it. How do we manage? What happened? How come there be no money in the future?" Of course, now we're getting a good glimpse of how that would be. And yeah, I suppose I started to notice around that time that Marilyn started to pop up and say, "We're losing cash." And she actually pointed out it was dangerous. Uh, uh, thank you, Lydia. That it's dangerous, that it was dangerous not. So do you want to mention the things you were posting up, Marilyn? Because all these things were starting to come up about the same time.
Absolutely. And with regards to this particular conversation, I've been talking about the dangers of a cashless society for decades. I started talking about it in 2001. So where are we now? 23 years ago, because I could see it coming. And so as it then became started to become more of a reality in 2020, some of you, if you cast your mind back, it seems like a while ago now, but you started to get retailers saying they don't want to take cash because whatever's being spread on it. And actually, cash is antibacterial. If you actually look it up, because cash changes hands so many times, it's designed in a particular way. So I thought, well, that's very interesting. And I can see where this is going based on the conversations I've been having for the past 20 years. And increasingly, I know where I live in Watford, like the place that many of you know, the hotel that we use for the annual MBS, Mind, Body, Spirit Energy Fest, and all my workshops, they went cashless about 2 years ago. And I'm noticing increasingly that you go into places, they will not even take cash unless their system goes down and they've got a technical issue, and then they've got their handwritten sign saying, "Oh, cash only." And I'm like, what? How hypocritical is this? But the danger lies in that thing with the digital footprint. Because when I first started, I've been a coach and therapist for the last coming up to, there'll be 25 years this October. And I initially started out working in relationships. I was a relationship coach for 9 years. And there are a lot of people who are in abusive relationships. So one of the things I always used to say straight out the gate is start making sure you've got a stash of cash so that if you need to move in stealth mode and not leave a footprint behind you, this is going to be the way to do it. And increasingly now, as we get into a place and a space where you cannot enter places without tapping something or swiping something, the minute you hit that card, 10 seconds later, it's on your statement and it says Boots, Greenwich. It says where you actually are as well. So from that perspective, I'm like, I'm really worried about this now because this is a danger zone. And any of you who've worked in the space of abusive relationships, you will know that story inside out and back to front. So it's really a subject that I've been passionate about for a long time, for a number of reasons. Back to you, Anne.
Right. Yeah. And we had a number of conversations. We even made a little video about it because it is, the other thing is, it's like, I always say I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I really don't feel I am because I think a lot of conspiracy theorists just believe anything. I see so many things come up online that are just not true or just totally inaccurate. So I kind of distance myself, but I can also see if there's some weird crap going on. And I suppose a big alarm bell for me was the Canadian truck drivers. They protested about something and their bank accounts were frozen. I've got goosebumps as I talk about that. That is terrifying. And they've actually talked about that in England. If you disagree, if you do certain things, what's it called? Trucker convoy. Yeah. That their bank accounts were frozen. I mean, this is the money they need to feed their kids and pay their rent or pay their mortgage. I mean, that really shook me. And that can happen anywhere. So for all your money's digital, all of it's just digital, all of it's just numbers in the count or whatever. What would you do if it gets frozen? Another big alarm bell. I went to a meeting with some people that are kind of big in AI. And one of them said, this was quite a few years ago. She said, I've just set up a new business, but it's a very specific business. So I can only use one bank. And I've got 5 business partners. And they come back and said, there's a problem with one of your business associates, one of the key directors. And she said, but they're all really good people. They're all successful. They've all paid their bills. And the word she said, which really rung a bell with me, she said, I was trying to contact them for 3 months because I can't go anywhere else. We've spent a fortune setting up this business. These are big people. And she said, there was no one to talk to. And it's the way she said it, there was no one to talk to. She's talking to a machine and not getting anywhere. So if there's some big problem with your money and it's only digital, that's it. You're talking to a robot. You're talking to a computer, and the computer says, no, sir. That was a big alarm bell. I started to get these jittery about it. And then when I started looking into the future later, I'm thinking, oh, you're thinking everyone's chilled. They're not. They're just stuck in a box. They work from home. They're not socializing. They're not chilled. They're subdued. You know that big difference. They're subdued. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think there was something recently. I'm sure there's been something quite recently where somebody's
There
had their
was
bank. Good.
there was with Barclays about a couple of months ago.
Mm,
We're still in December, I think, where it was a Friday. I know because I had like through work some big transactions and you just could not log in. You could not complete a transaction. And that was a whole day. It was completely down.
yeah, I
It
think
wasn't, it was actually last week, Friday, Saturday,
it
Sunday,
was.
and the
It was.
Barclays Bank in Watford, where I live, was closed yesterday, Friday. There were 2 people standing outside with their little lanyards on and people walking up and they're having a conversation. And when I went past in the afternoon, there was a sign up saying the bank is closed due to
Mm,
technical issues. So
mm,
Barclays again was
Yeah.
this week because people were losing their minds because it was the end of the month, payday, mortgage day, all of that sort of things. But we've had all of them going down. Yo Sushi,
yeah,
Start,
yeah.
you name it, all of them have had their moments. And I do wonder if they're doing something behind the scenes, changing the infrastructure, or
Mm.
there's a little universal glitches going, if you haven't woken up yet to what happens when you're only digital, let me slap you around the head again.
Well, the other one was Nigel Farage had his bank just shut. He couldn't access his money. His bank account was shut and he couldn't. It's not a case of whether you think he's right or wrong or you like his politics, because anybody can be out of favour at some point. It's the fact that it happened. And Jojo's probably got a few stories. She had all her accounts frozen, because she's a bit of a warrior, is our Jojo. So yeah, so all sorts of weird things happening, and I think one of the things that bothers me is how fast this change is happening. It's going so quickly. And as soon as you say something like, I think we need to keep cash, people start attacking you. Even regular people, they'll go, well, you just don't want to pay tax, or they think you're up to something, you're a scammer. So you get accused of things. So it's really weird that regular people will get stroppy with you, let alone authorities. So the speed this is happening, I mean, on your high street, how many banks have gone in very recent times? I mean, you could go to high streets, there's not a single bank. There's not a single bank. I'm just looking at messages here. Right. Monica, my poor friend has been unable to see her balance and her pension through Barclays since October. So I wonder why Barclays is. But as Marilyn's saying, it's a variety. There's a whole bunch of banks that are going strange. And when you go in the future, there is no money. And I've got a few thoughts, but I don't want to say too much because I'd like to take you on a meditation to look at money in 20 years' time. I used to look at 50, but the rate of change, I could probably take you 5 years and that'd be dramatic change. But let's go and see how things are at 20 years. And Marilyn was saying, let's see if there's any resources there, which is a great idea. Let's have a
And
look.
Anne, I've just had a little download while I've been sitting here, but you can say
Yeah.
no, but tell me how this sounds. So I was thinking maybe we can do a quick benchmark where people are at. How do they feel about money? What do they believe about it? And they can either put that in the chat or just very quickly, say, but chat's probably quicker. What I can then do is a very quick clearing with the access consciousness of anything that's negative, because what that can do is then free you up so you get an even better vision. And then I wrote down a couple of questions. So I don't know, in hypnosis, you can do what you call a double induction,
Yeah.
where you've
Yeah.
got maybe if there's a good break point in your FLP, I might come in with a couple of questions that I could ask people because I just had this little idea about going through a door within a door, if you want to put it that way. And then when I've done that, I'll just say, and you'll now hear the voice of Anne Jirsch and hand back to you to do your FLP. How does that sound?
Well, one part of this is we're going to go and stand on top of a mountain. One of the things I love about being on a mountain in a meditation is you're above everything. You're clear. You've got this panoramic view. It's much clearer. I just feel we're not so bogged down in the life we're in. So how about when we're before I take people forward 20 years, you take over when they're on top of the mountain. Then I'll take them forward 20 years, and that good?
Perfect. So if in the meantime, while Anne is doing now, while we're just getting ready, if there's anything you think when you think about money, how you feel about money, anything that you are aware that stops or blocks you, put that in, and I'll build that in when we do that clearing process at the top of the mountain, and then freedom from there. So drop them into the chat. Can just be a word, restricted. Somebody talked about the fear, for example, and then I'll create a clearing statement via that. So yeah, Anne, over to you. I'm excited.
Thank you. We've got a few comments, and Claire said, we could do an FLP for 5 years. What I like to do is go 20 years, then work backwards.
Yeah.
Work backward. That'd be quite an interesting one. Yeah, the other thing is they are taking money straight out of your account. Now, two people I know, and one of them might be popping up here because she messaged earlier. I won't say anything because she don't want to talk about it, but I know her and her daughter have had money taken out of her account, left her daughter very short because they took a chunk of money out. It was tax people. She chased them up relentlessly, really took some time. They just went, oh, that's in lieu of next year. And she wasn't expecting it. She needed that money to feed her kids and pay her mortgage. They just took the money. Happened to both of them because they got direct debits. I don't know. Yeah. So that left them quite shocked. Richard, another level is UK government wanted to access to Apple encryption. Yeah, which is worrying. That's linked to Apple Pay. Yeah. Janet, I've no financial reserves outside of home equity. I'll be working forever, and thankfully yeah, because you like your work. But yeah, I know. I think that's most of us, to be honest. But I see money flowing like stream. Sorry, typo. Right, Cynthia. Fear of not having enough, fear of it disappearing, fear of being stripped of controls of my money, not deserving, Yvette blocks, fear of lack of money, must work hard for money. Yeah, so money fears are pretty much ingrained in us. iPhone. The Matrix has financially shut me down and cancelled me totally, but I know abundance is mine. Yes, I know that too. I see money as energy. Maria, I've seen done lots of past life clearance. Absolutely. That most of our ancestors have been poor. Most of our past lives would have been in poverty. Uh, I love money. Money loves me. That's good, good, good. As long as you can access it. Fear of not being able to pay the bills, forever borrowing, spend as long as it's in the account, poverty programming. Yeah, nothing is for free. Yeah, we're brought up with so much programming. Right, we've got somebody arriving. Let's have a look. So, yeah, I just want to take you on this meditation. I'll hand over to Marilyn when we get to the top of the mountain. I've got, there's been times when I've accessed information in the future that's given me huge insight into my current time. Um, it's been quite interesting. I mean, one of the things most of you know, a book I wrote over 10 years ago has been re-released because I got the information from the future. But because our energy, we're focused on the future, we come into that time. So I've had two waves of this book doing really well, which is rather good fun. Access it. I think those that aren't looking to the future are going to really struggle, quite frankly. Okay, are we ready for a nice little relaxation? And I'd love to know what you all get from this. Yeah, Tonya, enjoying my freedom, having enough money. Yeah, you and me need a conversation, Tonya. Are you coming to London? Am I popping out to Stavanger? Make yourselves nice and comfy. Make sure my bell's off. Just close your eyes and just focus on your eyelids. Focus on your breathing. And as you focus on your breathing, you will naturally start to relax. And just relax the top of your head, back of your head, relaxing your neck, all the muscles in the back and the front and the sides of your neck. Just allow the relaxation to flow down through your face, through your cheeks and your lips and your chin, flowing across your shoulders. Just feel your shoulders let go. Feel the relaxation flowing down your arms. Just feel your arms just letting go. And feel the relaxation flowing down your back, flowing all the way down your back, rolling down your spine, relaxing all the muscles in your back and letting go. And feel the relaxation flowing down through your chest and your tummy, flowing down through your hips and thighs, flowing all the way down to your knees and all the way down your calves, ankles and feet, and flowing right to the tips of your toes. And you are relaxing well, and you are letting go, and you are drifting. And the more you relax, the better you feel. And the better you feel, the more you relax. And I just want you for a moment to imagine you're standing on top of a mountain. You can feel the breeze, mountain air around you. And you breathe in that mountain air. And it's so cool and clean. Your feet are firmly on the ground, but you're aware of that panoramic view around you. And you're aware of the beauty of the world, how wonderful the people of the world are. You're just aware of the sky and the universe above you. As you stand there, you're aware of all the things that are happening in the world, the great change that's happening. But for now, I'm going to hand you to Marilyn.
And from that place and that space where you have that wonderful panoramic view, being above it, looking at all of the old earthly worries and problems and challenges and blockages, just taking a moment to give yourself permission to release and resolve and let go of all of those. So I'm going to very quickly go through a series of statements, and I'm going to be asking you, is it okay for you to release, resolve, let go of these issues? And if it is, you just gently say yes, Y-E-S, and you can say that in the comfort of your own mind. If you choose to, you could, in your own space, microphone off, you could say it out loud. But if you energetically just affirm yes, and then we'll run a clearing statement to help release and resolve those, such that as you go forward into this future vision, you're energetically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally free of all of those old ties that bind. So anywhere and everywhere, that sense of fear around money has been holding you back. Will you now release, resolve, destroy, and uncreate all of that right back to the beginning of time and beyond? And if it's a yes, you can affirm yes in the privacy of your own mind, and then I'll run the clearing statement. And you don't need to understand what the clearing statement means. Energetically, it works on a number of different levels, and it's right and wrong, good and bad, or nine pod poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds, and povads. And so it's like a polarity clearing where you take what's right about it, you take what's wrong about it, what's good about it, what's bad about it, all of those old points of view, and anywhere you're holding it spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, astrally, and you give yourself permission to clear that now. So we're going to very quickly cycle through some of these statements. So anywhere and everywhere, you have a sense of fear and worry about not having enough, about having money disappear, being stripped of the control of your money, the fear of lack, the fear of poverty, the fear of not being able to pay your bills, the fear of nothing ever working for you. Anywhere and everywhere you carry those thoughts, those beliefs, that energy, and that no longer serves you, will you now release, resolve, destroy, and uncreate all of that right back to the beginning of time and beyond? And if it's okay, you just say yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, or nine pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds, and povads. Anywhere and everywhere, you have the thought, the belief, the idea, the judgment, the limitation. It could belong to you. You could have picked it up from somewhere else, where you are not enough, where you are not deserving, where you will never have enough, where you will never be able to make ends meet. And that is the experience you've had in this lifetime up until now. Anywhere and everywhere, those thoughts, those beliefs, those judgments, those limitations no longer serve you. Will you now release, resolve, destroy, and uncreate all of that in its entirety, right back to the beginning of time times a gazillion? And if it's okay, you just say yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, or nine pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds, and povads. And anywhere and everywhere where you feel as though you may be even carrying some of those ancestral blocks, those genealogical blocks, blockages from past lifetimes which no longer serve you in this lifetime, will you now release, resolve, destroy, and uncreate all of that in its entirety right back to the beginning of time, and return any of those thoughts, beliefs, and judgments and limitations that don't even belong to you back to sender with consciousness attached? And if that's okay, you just say yes and affirm that to yourself now. Right and wrong, good and bad, or nine pod pocs, shorts, boys, and beyonds, and povads. And anywhere and everywhere, you have that fear of being stuck in this old matrix where you're working hard. You have the fear of being cancelled. You have the fear of being stripped away. You can even, in some way, shape, or form, see it's a bit of a sham and a scam. However, you feel powerless with regards to what to do about it. Anywhere and everywhere, that sense of powerlessness and that sense of lack of control is stopping and blocking your progress now and in the future. Will you now release, resolve, destroy, and uncreate all of that in its entirety times a gazillion? Right and wrong, good and bad, or 9 Pod Pocs, Shorts Boys and Beyonds and POVADs. And then also energetically open yourself up while you're on this guided process with Anne. Open yourself up to receiving ideas and access to gifts and resources that will help you now or in the future financially. And once we've completed the process with Anne, we'll also do a HUNA energy clearing to help you bring those resources into fruition. So in a few moments, you'll hear the voice of Anne Jirsch to continue on this future life progression and this future vision journey from that wonderful, beautiful place and space on the top of the mountain. So Anne, back to you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. So again, just stand there on top of the mountain. And I expect now you feel a bit more free, a bit lighter, because we have so many preconceived programs and ideas to do with money, wealth. So just want you to stand on top of that mountain and be aware that something's changing with money. I mean, it's happening around us. Every day we're noticing some changes. And that change is happening rapidly. So we're going to zoom forward. We're going to zoom forward 20 years and get a sense of just how it's turned out. How are we dealing with money in 20 years' time? So just stand on top of the mountain, and in a moment you're going to float forward, and you're going to float forward 20 years. Then you'll float down into 20 years, where you'll be able to gain information and insight into just how we live, how we pay for things, do we still get paid, how the whole thing works. Or maybe there isn't any change. Maybe it stops today. Maybe it doesn't. So just stand on top of the mountain. Float forward, forward, forward through time, forward through time, forward through time, float forward 5 years, and you can feel change and you can be aware of what's happening at that 5 year point. And float forward, 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 forward to 10 years. And just get a sense of how the world's changing so much at 10 years in all sorts of ways. And you float forward, 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 forward 15 years. And that's a fair amount of time, 15 years. And you float forward, 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 forward through time to 20 years. Now float all the way down into 20 years, all the way down, and feel yourself arrive at 20 years. And just take a moment to get a sense of how you live, how people live. Do they get paid? How do they get paid? How are they buying things, handing over money? What's happening with money? So just leave you for a moment to get a sense of what's happening. And just get a sense if there's any cash at all. Has cash been replaced by something, a token, bartering, another coin, something? Are we bartering? What are we doing? Do we have any cash at all? Has it been replaced? So if people get paid in the future, how do they get paid? How do they get paid? or are we no longer paid? Is there a completely new system in place? And how do people feel with money? They feel restricted, they feel abundant, they feel safer. Is it scary? How are people? How do they feel with whatever money system we then have? Is is money used to control people? Are some people better off than others? Is there some sort of universal basic income? And if there is it in certain places? Is it global? And is there any alternate systems?
Is it? Not fit to go out. No. When did you say press?
Is there any alternate systems? Maybe people using crypto or some sort of underground way of using. There could even be an underground movement if money is restricted. Just imagine you can look back down the timeline. When you look back down that timeline, was there a time when everything just suddenly changed, or has it been gradual? I just want you to be aware that hindsight is a wonderful thing. And 20 years into the future, you can tap into it. From that hindsight, that vantage point, are there any resources that from there that you can bring back to current time? Is there anything you can share any guidance to help people in the current time, or to head them off? What would be useful for us to know right now in our current time? I'm going to ask a cheeky question that's just occurred to me. Because imagine if you'd have known in the early days to invest in Apple or Amazon. Um, so any organizations or companies in the future that you can see are going to be so big they're really worth investing in right now? But I just want to put a disclaimer in there. Please, nobody here gamble the farm, just in case, just in case it's variable. But it'd just be interesting if you see, get insight. Might be something completely new. Just gather up any information that you need. And just float back to your present time, all the way back to your present time. That's really good. I'm going to count you back from 5 to 1. You'll awaken with hopefully some good insight and resources for the future. It's 5 and 4. You can begin to stir. 3 and 2. You can open your eyes. And 1, you're fully awake and feeling good. So well done. Love to hear what you picked up. I think we really need to know about the future of money. It's one I'm not a worrier, but I tell you, this is a subject that does gnaw at me a bit. So yeah, love to hear your insight.
Well, Anne, one of the first things while people are getting their thoughts together and maybe putting in the chat or,
Mm,
just be aware whatever you say on camera is going to be part of this recording.
mm.
So I don't even know why I could not get the idea of a mushroom colony out of my head. It was like these silver big toadstool sort of mushroomy things.
Oh,
And then of course, that led me to think about Star Trek because they actually don't have money. They just don't operate with money, etc. But the mushroom colony, and then I saw this note, and it was a bit like, have I got any here that are foreign? It was almost like that color of the old £50 note, but it
mm.
was almost like a glossy plastic, and it had a thing in it that was activated by our effort and our energy and our time. So let's just say you and I just ran this. People who are here are going, I really enjoyed that. They send us some energy and this charges up. So whereas it might have had £1 million on it, we've got, I don't know, 40, 50 people here. If they all sent us like a 1,000 watts of their energy, this is now worth more. And
Wow.
the thing about it is, even if we lost this and it disappeared, it wouldn't matter because this can only be activated by me and my energy, my soul, my whatever. So even
Mm.
if you found it on the street and you tried to use it, it's worthless because you don't have that energetic connection. And so it can't, and if I lost that, this one just almost disintegrates and I regenerate another one. And I saw this whole scenario. And when you asked the question about the companies that we invest in, the first thing I heard was ourselves. And then you invest in the companies and the people who provide you with value. And then in terms of the resources, the first thing I heard that it'll be really useful for people to have is courage. Just that one
Mm.
word was kind of what came through. But I can see Andrew has his hand up, so I'll hand back to you.
Andrew, yeah, love to hear what you got to say.
Well, I like for me in 20 years, I was more at peace with how uh money or whatever currency is happening at that time. I wasn't worried. I just, I was more in my skin and living in peace. Now, someone else said it in the comments, which I felt as well. So I'm bringing her, like, agreeing with what was said, which was it's going to happen gradually. I agree that there's going to be probably, with the way things are going these days, like, as much as people can educate and say, listen, wake up, this is what's going on. A lot of people are still closed off with the possibility that this is what's happening.
Mm.
Like, for instance, what happened in the States when the president came into power. I mean, so it's just, I think it's a matter of making people aware, and just whoever we are able to inspire, and just, bring, making sure that history does not repeat itself that was wrong in the past. Because, history, if you look at it with the history, it seems to cycle. The history seems to cycle. And it's a matter of us breaking the cycle of history and saying it's time for us to create a future where, we learn from the past, and so we can move forward. So it's, we're coming into an age where I believe it's the age of enlightenment, or there's the new age that's happening right now. And I think if we start to step into our own power, because one thing I felt was, I've given so much of my power away because of being indecisive and allowing other people to make the decision for me. It's important that we empower ourselves as individuals to make the decisions for ourselves. And, rather than just complaining, we take action to make what we want change happen. Because it's easy to complain and say, oh, this and that.
Mm.
But what action are you actually doing to help solve the problem? So
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I mean,
I'm just gonna leave it at that for my take. There's probably more, but that's,
I love that. I love it. And I think a lot of people are still in that victim thing. And our ancestors really believed that, it's in the lap of the gods or whoever's in power. And we have so much more power these days, and people don't seem to know it. We are more in control, and we are creating our destiny. I love that. That's great. Margaret, you got your hand up.
Um, what I saw is that we were our own bank. It felt like it was an energetic thing, and that the body knows that if there's enough money, and if there's not, people will help, because the energy that the money has today will be a different way back, going forward 20 years. People will help. So where we're controlled by money, it felt like that energy of being controlled by money was not the same. People were there to help. So nobody was going without it, regardless of how much money they had. But it felt to me that the money we would control the money by our fingertips. So if you was going to buy something, you'd either put your fingertips down or your palm down. And if there wasn't enough, there'd always be somebody nearby to offer to top you up if you needed it. So you weren't being suppressed, and you weren't being treated any different for not having enough money. So
Mm.
it just felt to me like the power of money that it has today, like lower class, middle class, upper class, it's a thing of the past. Everybody
Mm.
helps everybody. Everybody will have, regardless. So it just felt to me like much lighter.
I love that. It's just an easier way of living. I love that.
Yeah,
Let's look at
yeah.
some of these messages. Wow. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Where do we start? Have a look.
There's a lot in there. I think where it gets to the feedback, so Lydia starts with, we start with bartering is still useful. I think precious metals, Katrina, so precious metals, but more than just gold and silver.
Mm.
Bartering is still useful, and it happens gradually. Someone says, Lydia, I picked up there will be more bartering, and to think of start creating networks to barter. Let's see what else we've got. Yes, Catherine, yes, there seems to be a part of it like a light energy, but I'm not sure how that will work. Monica, telepathic transactions somehow, dot, 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 dot. Bridget, I saw that everyone had gone off to communities in the country where they could band together and have some farms and support themselves. There was no money. You had to grow your own food, etc. And it was not awful to not be invited to a commune because you had no way to buy food or anything. It was imperative to be part of a group. Lydia says digital education will be big and is what I've got to invest in. I put some links to your book. So for those of you who want to know what Anne's written, please look at the comments. Those are the Amazon links. Ben, very interesting and positive, all virtual, but much more real than today. Virtual transactions, but you can't make money out of money. Transactions for little things, very seamless. I couldn't see myself paying for big things, i.e. a house, not a central banking system. The money is virtual, but local, more in charge of our money, better relationships with money. Thanks, Anne, and thanks, Marilyn. You're most welcome, Ben. Tonji, coins that can be coded with the amount to pay and do the coding with a device that looks like today's phones. Teresa, invest in nesting, not nest eggs, identified by fingerprints in the person and breathing for distance spending. Surround and protect with red and gold clothes. Neelam, hi Neelam, universal credit system with maximum earned income, which is it's collected at 100% for redistribution. You can declare it if you can declare it if you don't want money to be used, e.g. for weapons. It goes into a community fund. Day-to-day spending is by bartering and credits, not cash. Also control of the system, not directly with government, who has to wait for what's allocated to it by the people, so they can't control the amount coming in. Politics are different. They essentially have to enroll folks into their annual plans. I didn't look at how this is managed. Maria says, I picked up bartering, co-housing and community. People supported and helped each other's elders, helping younger ones, growing their own food. Most change in 2025 and 10 years on from that. I got cash. Still, however, much more digital and crypto. Investments in co-housing and eco-community projects was huge. Some people felt neutral, not bothered, and others living in a community were more peaceful. Leland says business is different as everyone can earn a certain amount. You don't have exploitation because extra money is not retained by the individual. Winnie said, I saw cash is king. If you don't have it, hang on to it. I saw a divided society, those that had a type of digital currency, a token type of bar that lights up. For the rest of society, I saw cowries, i.e. seashells, like a type of bartering system. Behind all of this, I saw that the energy source is unlimited. It is there for all, and whether you believe you could tap into the energy source and receive it. I very much saw AI taking over. The danger is AI will do the thinking, for it, and our insights will be eroded. A more simplistic form of living. When these changes began to shift was around the 10-year mark, but one message kept coming through. You are, in capital letters, energy. Tap into the source of energy. Don't rely on others. Go into the vastness of the source you are connected to. The more connected you are, the lighter, brighter you are. Catherine, I don't see ourselves as controlled by money. That might be a program that Margaret Hunt is addressing. Yvette, I saw a barcode on the wrist and forehead, chipped implants where money went off. There was a divide between the chipped and not. If not, you had a plastic card stroke lanyard around your neck. We felt imprisoned and controlled by money. There was a bartering in the countryside and underground movements similar to crypto. Gold and minerals were big. Investment companies that came up was a name that almost sounded like Gensec and Anglo-American. there were some free resources like minimal food and electricity, lots of average people, but some higher end income groups who had the insights early on into the system. And P.S., I saw cash in museums. Janet, I saw chip implants as well with master accounts where needs were debited and credited. Yvette says, invest now in physical assets like property and minerals. Katrin, oh, and when Anne asks about the companies, I had lettering in black and green, AMA or AMR. Again, no idea who or what that might be. Claire says, I saw it as a game. Literally a chessboard, reminding me of tokens to play with on a train track. And there was no way off it. We were restricted on that path, so maybe a good time to get off it. So it had an Alice in Wonderland quality where to it, money wasn't real. And then what we got, so we've seen that one. Yeah, okay, phew. So that's a summary of the comments thus far.
Thank you. God, you zoomed through it, which is brilliant because I'm sort of trying to read it. The only thing I'm seeing more on a global thing. It isn't individual currencies. It's not if I'm going to France or somewhere or other, I've got to change money. It isn't. It was universal money, and money was no longer tied to oil or gold. That was the main thing. It was totally different system, but it's no longer tied into oil and gold. That was my only thing. But I'm going to hand you over to Marilyn. I don't think we're restricted on time, so I know we got this for 90 minutes, but usually lets you go over so let Marilyn do her thing.
Yeah, and so what I thought would also be nice is a bit of the Huna, Huna. For people who haven't come across Huna before, it's an ancient Hawaiian healing and empowerment modality. Some people know a little bit about Huna, Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. I call that the quick and dirty version, the social media version. It's absolutely wonderful. And with regards to the version that I use, it's full on, we've got the Arca connections, we've got the Huna guides, we've got the stage, we've got all sorts, we've got the ancestral connections, and those words are a really good gateway into that, but that is part of what we call Ho'oponopono. And Ho'oponopono is one page in the book of Huna, and my Huna manual is on the thing, and Ho'oponopono is just one page because it's part of a bigger body of work. But energetically, it works really well remotely, and it also carries and translates in recordings, because I've often had people listen to a Huna recording 5-10 years after I recorded it, and I'll get emails saying, oh my God, I listened to that recording, and then they replay what happened for them, and it's as though they were there live. So it's a really, really nice one. What I thought I might do first of all, actually, because I think it's a really good idea to give your brain a sense of where it's potentially going and what you can get with FLP, because I always say don't take these visions lightly because they are really profound. And I had one of my clients years ago, we did a future life progression session. So for those who, because I know we have people coming in who maybe haven't worked with Anne before, FLP stands for future life progression. It was created by the wonderful Anne Jirsch, who you see sitting before you, and links to some of her many books are in the chat. So I took the client through a future life progression session. The first thing they said is, I don't really want to do this because I'm not visual. I said, you do not have to be visual for this to work. So I very politely said, close your mouth, shut your eyes, let's talk about it after the fact. So let's just get on with it. So we did the process. Partway through, she says, oh, there's a man and he's coming towards me and he's wearing a black suit. And then she said, oh, hold on, no, it's not a black suit, it's deep blue. At which point I had to stifle my laughter because I'm like, hold on a minute. Hey. This is the woman who was telling me that. Hold on, let me just remove that person. Yes, so let's just do that. So I said, so I was laughing to myself and I said, hold on a minute, this is the person who is just telling me they're not visual, so it's not going to work. And now they're correcting themselves in terms of the color of the suit. And then they said, he's wearing a red tie and he's got a red handkerchief, and they said his name, and he works with high net worth individuals, which is what she wanted to focus on because she's an entrepreneur, doing a startup. 2 weeks later, thereabouts, I get a message on my BlackBerry back in the day, and it said, check your notes, exclamation mark. There's like 20 exclamation marks. I was like, okay. So I opened the message, And she said, I've just been to a networking event. She said, Marilyn, it was like a parting of the waves. And a man walked towards me. He made a beeline for me. And she said, the first thing I noticed, he was also wearing black, shiny shoes in the FLP. He's wearing black, shiny shoes. And she's like, so she saw the shoes, and then she looked up and she saw the color of the suit, exactly the same. Then she looked up and she saw the color of the tie and the handkerchief, exactly the same. He extended his hand and he said his name. And he messaged me to say, can you check the name of the person in the FLP? Because I've been making notes. And I said his name was, she went, oh my God, that was the name of the man I just met. Then she gets home 2.5 hours later, sends me another message. She says, Marilyn, here's his website. And it was completely minimalist and it just had his name and one strap line. It said, I work with high net worth individuals. Look, many men wear dark suits. We could give you that. Many men might wear really, really shiny shoes. We could give you that. Many men might wear a red tie. But seriously, when you add all of those things together, you couldn't make this stuff up. Seriously. And another of my clients saw a house in the future. White house on a hill with 2 doors, one through which the public could enter. Really specific. That's how her future self said it. A couple of years later, she says, Marilyn, I'm moving. I was like, okay, cool. She went, Marilyn, I'm moving into a white house on a hill with 2 doors, one through which the public could enter. The reason why the doors thing was significant, the future self said, because you can have people in your home to do workshops, groups, etc. But my client's married with a family, so they didn't want people coming through the family home. The house that they moved into had 2 entrances, one through which the public could enter. So the public went into a space which was away from the family home. So it's kind of self-contained. So with regards to these visions, there will be times that you're going to remember what you saw when Anne took you through, and there'll be other times, it's like little fragments will pop up in the future. Every single time that happens, number one, just take a moment and breathe, smile. You might want to write them down because they can be super duper significant. So you might want to also cut and paste what you said in the chat, save it into a document, and just have a little look, see 6 months from now, 12 months from now, couple of years from now, because you might blow your own mind in terms of the way that FLP works. It is so powerful. So with that said, for the people who might be newer to FLP, what we're going to do now is just, and with regards to HUNA, you give yourself permission to receive it or not. If you want to receive it, you don't have to do anything, just be open to receiving. And if the energy, the vibration, the frequency isn't for you, just let it pass you by, go on around you, end of story, job done. Now, very quickly, if you've not had any water in the last 15 to 20 minutes, have a drink of water because it's always a good idea to be hydrated with this work. Cheers. And with the HUNA, you draw the symbols on the breath and you deliver them on the breath. So it sounds a bit like, so draw the symbols on the breath, deliver them on the breath. And then the intention is whoever is listening to this, watching this, etc., they receive whatever they need, because I can have 500 people in a room. I'm doing the same HUNA, but everybody receives something different. So somebody might go, oh my God, I had a pain in my shoulder and now it's gone. Somebody else might go, oh, I was feeling really confused and now my head is clear. Somebody else will be, oh, I was so tired and just lethargic. I could barely put one foot in the front of the other. Now I'm energized. Someone else might say, I've not been able to sleep and I slept like a baby. It's the same HUNA. But the way I see it, it has an intelligence of its own, and it's also part of higher self therapy. So I'm not doing this to you. I'm a kind of conduit, if you like. I'm going to send that energy over. You and your higher self will go, thank you very much. Don't mind if I do. Or it'll be, not today, thanks, but, thanks for asking. So one of the things we've already kind of had a play with this piece, you're either going to give yourself permission to receive or not. If you can give yourself permission to receive, you just say, yes, I'm open to receiving, change, transformation, the energy clearing. And if it's not for you, just say, no, thank you, not for me. And you can energetically close that door. So here we go. Andrew says, mention the event about the HUNA where it affected not just the event you when you did it. Are you talking about the TCCHE, Andrew? There's a thing called the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution with people like Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Marianne Williamson, etc. I've just come back from San Diego emceeing that one again last week, but it was amazing because they were, they had no idea what I was doing. The people from Grenfell Towers were downstairs, which has just been back in the news in the UK. And I was just asked if I could do a quick meditation. I thought, who knows, the quickest thing I can think of. So I did that in terms of anyone who wanted to receive it in the room below us. But all the 550 people in the room were just, their minds were completely blown. And they were emailing weeks after the event going, oh my God, this has happened and this has happened. So look out for the ripple effect. So here we go. Here we go. Oh yeah, we're going to start with a couple of what I call the ha breaths. The ha breaths in Huna, the ha breath, everything centers around the breath because their version is if you're not breathing, you're not alive. And because they couldn't, when they were colonized, because they couldn't see the colonizers breathing, they called them howlies in terms of there's no breath because apparently they were very shallow breathers, whereas the Hawaiians, because it was all about the breath, they have a thing called the ha breath, where you breathe in through the nose, you breathe out through the mouth, and you make a ha sound. So it sounds like, and they didn't hear that ha sound, so they called them the howlies, because it was all about the breath. So just going to do 3 ha breaths. You breathe at the rate and pace that is right for you. So in through the nose, out through the mouth, and if you choose to, if you've got the lungs for it, you make a ha sound, and you do it at your own pace. So here we go. And the ha breath also gets the energy going, the neurology going. Then just go back to your regular breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. And then you can just put your focus, your attention, your awareness on your breathing, noticing the in-breath, noticing the out-breath, and then at a rate and a pace that is comfortable for you. You can take a deep breath in and exhale. And if you've had your eyes closed, you can gently open your eyes. Whew.
That was
Okay.
gorgeous. Yeah, that was
Good.
gorgeous. Yeah, really nice. Yeah, I love that. So how we all feeling?
So Andrew says, as expected, do not worry. I'm also running an audio feed. So what I'll do is I'll email out the audio feed of this session as well. So for those of you where you might have the noise cancelling on, which is a great idea because it means you get cats and dogs and people running outside. So if you didn't hear it all, I'll send you the audio. However, it's not necessarily a hearing thing. It's also a feeling thing. And some of you who are sensitive to energy, you might have felt it, whatever, cold, hot, tingles, whatever. And others of you, it can be very subtle, but you just wake up tomorrow feeling different, lighter, more energized, clearer, and then just notice the ripple effect over the coming days, weeks, months, even years. So if you didn't hear it, chill, relax. It still works because it can work with someone in Australia and I'm sitting here in the UK. So relax. Sorry, Anne, over to you.
No, I'm just gonna wrap up by saying, did anybody get any really good advice from the future for everybody here? And either unmute or put your hand up to unmute or put it in the chat. But what do we need to know now? Yes, Margaret.
Not to stress. It won't be like how it is now.
Good, good. That's really good, isn't it? Because it's
Mm,
quite a scary thing, money.
mm,
Louise Hay once said that it's the most emotive subject she ever talks on. People get more upset about money than they do talking about sex or families or anything else. That is the one politic that money brings up the emotions most. That's really good to know. And it's probably better if Marilyn reads them because I take ages. If there's any comments in there.
Let me cycle back to where we last left off. I think we got to here. So it's not a mining company was one of the things about the three letters. So Andrew says, totally awesome experience. You are most welcome. This has been incredible. Thank you so much, Marilyn and Anne. That was from Sammy. Some couple of Sammy says divine. Yvette says amazing. Lydia says thanks, Marilyn. Felt incredible. Maria says feel clearer. Thanks. Margaret says amazing. Cynthia says that was lovely. Thank you so much. Ben says thank you. I was like, half the time I'm just like, only write me messages. Can't be bothered to find the emojis. So I just love it when people find the emojis. Lydia says also thank you, Anne, for the FLP. That was great. Tonja says felt a good energy with the Huna. Thank you. Teresa says thank you. Lydia says I saw there was a bit of cash, but mostly digital. Karina, Marilyn, do you have to concentrate through the Huna? I was distracted by my dog, so not entirely present. Absolutely not. As long as you're willing to receive, I'd say it has a divine intelligence all of its own. It will go wherever it needs to go. So you and your dog just enjoy the vibe. Marita, thank you for today, Anne and Marilyn. Now, Marcia, it's a lovely spelling of your name. It's all about our frequency and an inner sense of peace, which will allow the money to come through you as an energetic being. Let's see. Ava says thank you. Claire says that was very restful. Thank you, Marilyn. It's been a great session. Thank you both. Marcia says thank you. Janet says thank you all for a great session, very empowering. Winifred says that to both Anne and Marilyn, thank you for this wonderful gift to us all. The blessing and gift you are in the world. To everyone else, live in the now. Everything is already taken care of. And I've got a load of people finding the emojis. That is absolutely fantabulous. And hang on, another new message. Margaret says, thank you, Anne and Marilyn. And also what Anne was saying, also, I'm really curious to know. I like words. And one year, for example, I had the word of the year was joy. I didn't tell people that. That was just for me. Everywhere I went, I was seeing the word joy, which, if you think about the brain, NLP, the reticular activating system, makes perfect sense. I'm at a retreat in the November of that year, so we're 11 months into the year, and we all write down a word and you put them on the table. A friend of mine, Kathy Hector, she was running the retreat. So we all write a word like joy, love, happiness, compassion, money, abundance, wealth, finance, all just wonderful words. And we write them on these little bits of paper, and you put them on the table and you mix them all up, and then people could go and choose the words that they want. So I'd written down joy, and it was kind of sitting there for a while. And I thought, if joy is still on the table, I'll just reclaim it. And then it was gone. I didn't think about it. That evening, somebody walks up to me, Rachel, and she says, Marilyn, I picked this up today, but I felt I really wanted to give it to you. She opened her hand and she's holding my bit of paper with the word joy written on it. She had no idea about my word of the year. So this is really powerful. So if there's a word that you were thinking about for the future, and money, and you were just having to choose one, they're already coming in. I can see that they're coming into the chat already. Choose a word, and the word, it can be your word, but if somebody else loves the word, be okay with, you can gift it to that person as well, because there's more than enough of that to go around. So put those words in, because I think you might see one and go, oh, I love that, I'm going to carry that word. And then the invitation is, be open and curious to the number of ways those words show up for you, both now and into the future. It is just so much fun. I cannot begin to tell you. And sometimes when you consciously don't even remember about the word, it's right in your face, where you're walking in London and a bus crosses in front of you and it has the word joy on the side. It is that cool in terms of the synchronicities. So some of the words we've got here. The word I get, Winifred said, the word I get is infinity. Neelam says justice. I'm liking that word. You know why, for many reasons. Lydia decided oh, how cool. I love a synchronicity already. Lydia decided this morning my word of the year is lucky. And she's got the 4-leaf clovers there, which is wonderful. Rosalind says, thank you. I'm still feeling a chill. I am open to receiving and kept seeing different shaped eyes. Claire says her word is frequency. I love that, with all the frequency generator stuff that I've been doing. Catherine says completion. Margaret says happiness. Yvette says energy. Monica says abundance. Maria says word for money this year for me is flow. Excellent session. Thank you both. You're most welcome. Catherine says ease. Tonja says great workshop. Thank you both. You are most welcome. Anne says, that's you. Anne Jirsch says peace, because with the new system, war will end. Loving that. Anne says transformation, one of my favorite words. Teresa says infinite. Lydia says it was just before this session I got my word for this year. Lydia, I love that. Claire says, Lydia, I'm going for that lucky frequency. I love it. Take it, combine those. Lucky frequency. I'm going to adopt that one too. Marita says fun. Sammy says ease. There's a saying in Access Consciousness, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And you can say anything. All of love comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of money comes to me with ease and joy and glory. But I love that, because that's one I say often. I say it when I'm opening the curtains in the morning, because I do it every day. So I might as well make the most of that time. So I love that. Marcia says freedom. Think of George Michael. Let's see. Here we go. Teresa says gratitude. Cynthia, name of one of my favorite movies, Limitless. Teresa also says gratitude. Denise says my word before today was belief. I now like the word frequency. I love it. Tonja says love, abundance. Phew, there we go. So those are some words that you can, drink them in. Sammy says, would someone be able to send me the chat? I joined on my phone. Now, there used to be a thing in Zoom where you could click these 3 buttons and it would copy the chat. Then suddenly that disappeared. I've not seen it for months. So Sammy, probably I might actually, if it's all right with people, I'll just do a cut. I'm just going to now highlight everything in the chat. I'm going to just drop it into a Word document.
It's at the top, the 3 dots beside my mini workshop. Click the 3 little dots, and it says save chat.
Oh yeah, Save Chat. There we go. Thank you, Andrew. You're a
Wow.
star.
Didn't know
You
you
are
could do that.
fabulous. Wonderful. All right, so there it is. And Sammy, that may or may not send it to your phone. So there we go. So I'm going to drop it into a Word document as well. Let me FLP. And if it's okay with people here, possibly maybe in the FLP group, I might just put some of those words into the group. Maybe every once in a while, put them on a little, a picture that suits the wording, and we
Yeah.
just remind people of some of those words.
Yeah, it's a good idea if you join the Future Vision Training Facebook page, and that's where I tend to post it. I'll post a link to this, put everything. You can comment, talk amongst yourselves or whatever. I always think that's quite a good idea. And I'm actually a little bit surprised because people are so doom and gloom about the future, and this has been sort of really encouraging that it's okay. And I remember again, I mentioned Judy Piatkes because we talk about these things. And I remember years ago, and it was coming up to 2012, and people were going, all these terrible things are going to happen and all these bad. And she said, what do you think? And I went, nothing's going to happen in 2012. I'm sorry. I know people think big stuff. I went, and they're going to go, this is going to collapse. That's going to change. There'll be earthquake. Nothing happened. And I said, nothing's going to happen. And I said, and she said, people don't want to hear that. She said, good news doesn't sell newspapers. That's what she said. It doesn't sell books. If you write all these things, terrible things are going to happen, it sells. And I said, no, I actually think the future's pretty rosy. The change is unsettling, but I actually think, and I love the way people are creating their reality and creating the change rather than sitting back. This is happening to us. They are taking more control, and I love that. And I've got three friends that have gone into politics in one way or another. Marilyn's one of them. And they're all in completely different systems, all completely different beliefs. And I just think people, when they sit at home and they're bitching and moaning on Facebook, they're becoming more powerless and more frightened. Go and join something, go and get involved in something and put your voice out there properly. Nobody cares what you say on Facebook. Nobody cares about anybody whinging on Facebook. But you actually join something or get involved in what you believe. As I say, my three friends are all completely different, but I admire the fact that they've gone, actually, even if it's just a little bit, one of them's on a parish council in a small village, sod it, and it's about taking part in what we believe in. So we're shaping that future. We're shaping that future of money. So I'm still gonna do a bit of crypto. I like my crypto, and I'm gonna keep my cash as much as I can. But I think yeah, whenever I dig into the future, I'm always really feel better than what I do when I don't look. So I think our future's interesting. But I really want to thank Marilyn because she always steps up so wonderfully and makes us feel good and has great insights. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Thank you all so much for joining in. It's been magnificent. I didn't know if anybody'd show up because it's last minute thing. We're always doing it last. If me and Marilyn do anything, we go, let's do that next in 2 days' time. It's always a bit last minute and just throw it out there and see who shows up. But I'm truly grateful for you all coming along. I'll stop the recording and I'm sure.
Quick question before we go.
Yeah, do.
Do you know, do you have a trusted source for crypto? Could they possibly maybe do a webinar for us at some point? Because crypto, I know the term, of course. I'm aware of it. I remember the Bitcoin where somebody bought a pizza with their Bitcoin, and if they hadn't done that, they could have been a millionaire. But if you're into crypto and you actually have crypto, I would be so interested in you bringing us a trusted source.
I think she's on here, Monica.
Oh,
Monica, you about? I regulate Monica, are you here? I don't know if she's still here. Monica was on here.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, I pick Monica's brain. I hassle Monica now and again and go, what do you think of this or what? Yeah, Monica is my sort. I've done very well with crypto, I will say. I have done very well with shares and crypto and investments. Somebody said about precious metals. Monica, what is your tips? Or should we do something with you? Perhaps we should do a workshop with you and the three of us go and have a peek. What do you think?
Oh, possibly. Yes, possibly. Yeah, I'd like that.
Monica said something really interesting just recently. She said, people go invest in all sorts of crazy stuff while they're dressed from head to foot in Nike and Adidas, and they use their Apple phone, and they don't invest in the companies that they're spending money in, that are obviously taking everybody's money. And apart from the crypto, that was a really good comment, because they're in studies it's shown that the companies, that the obvious companies, are the ones where people make their money. We'll set that up, I think. I think it'd be really good to set that up with the three of us. And what do you all think? Would you like that? Because I love a bit of crypto. Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anne, for always being willing to come and play.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
I say this all the time, and I say it to Anne's face, and I say it behind her back, and I say it to people I meet when I talk about future life progression. I know a lot of wonderful trainers, some really incredible people, and Anne is right up there, because she is one of the trainers who shares with you what she knows. There's no holding back. There's no carrot and stick and bait and switch and all that sort of stuff. If Anne has the information, she's going to tell you all about it. She's going to share it with you, and she's really happy to see you grow and flourish.
I love
So
that.
it's always really wonderful to be in the FLP space. So thank you, Anne, for doing this at short notice as well. It's been amazing fun. And thank you so much to everyone who showed up at short notice. And also those of you who might be watching this as a replay in the future. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Anne.
See you all soon. This has been, I'm going to stop.